Our first points of interest takes us to Eldon, Iowa. It's about 2 hours from Quincy. It's home to the American Gothic house. What is that, you ask? Well, it's the background of the American Gothic painting, but it's actually the focal point of that artwork. The American Gothic painting is one of the most parodied pictures in history. It actually came about kind of by accident. Grant Wood was visiting Eldon, Iowa in 1930. A local was taking him on a tour of the town, hoping the artist could find something to paint. When the two drove by this farmhouse, Wood noticed the large Gothic window on the second floor. Wood was so impressed with such a fancy window in such a small house, he sketched it out. He came back the next day and sketched the rest of the house. He later separately sketched his sister Nan and his dentist back in Cedar Rapids. He put the three together and voila, American history was born. Fast forward to more present times, 2007 to be exact, this visitor center was opened so people could enjoy the famous farmhouse.
I think the center is really for everyone of all ages and different interests. If you have an interest in art, you can learn about Grant Wood and his paintings. If you have an interest in history, you can learn about the history of the town and the history of Grant Wood and his work. And we even have a beautiful prairie with native flowers.
Shirley Gooch and Barb Christofferson are longtime friends who met in college in Kirksville. They both became art teachers, and this summer they're road tripping and tracing the life of Grant Wood. I met them at the American Gothic house.
It's a rare jewel. It's just amazing what they've done with this, just, preserving the history and also preserving the authenticity of it. It's very classy, it's very beautiful, and it's very people and children friendly.
Don't expect a mansion. It's a 900 square foot little farmhouse, 2-story, and it has 2 Gothic windows. The famous one in the front, and there's one on the back side also.
Do we come inside here?
You don't tour the actual house, but there is plenty to do in the visitors center. There are several exhibits which do change so you can visit often. There are exhibits on Grant Wood as an artist, one on the house itself, and some on the town of Eldon. There's also a gift shop. Perhaps one of the highlights of visiting the American Gothic house, you actually get to dress up in period costume and pretend you're in the painting.
Every now and then there's either a dad or a teenager who's a little reluctant, but once they get dressed up, they get really into it. And it's something, even if they're slightly embarrassed, they still have a good time.
Using the costumes is free. Actually, admission to the whole visitor center is free.
This should be on everyone's bucket list. If you live in the United States of America, you should visit the Gothic house.
Summer hours are from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, and from 1 to 4 p.m. Sunday and Monday. You can learn more by visiting the American Gothic house online. Holly Berg is the administrator at the American Gothic house. She says when you visit Eldon, use your GPS's instructions to actually get to Eldon. But once you get in town, follow these large brown signs. They'll get you to where you need to go. Now, I can't let you go without telling you what's actually inside the American Gothic house. That's where Beth Howard lives. Beth is an author and pie baker. Last summer, she was in the process of moving from Portland, Oregon to Los Angeles when she came home to Iowa to visit the state fair. She stumbled across the American Gothic house, found out it was for rent, and snatched it up. As she admits, she grew up just 15 minutes away in Ottumwa and had no idea this iconic house was there. She writes a blog called The World Needs More Pie. She also has a memoir coming out in April. But in her spare time, she bakes pies inside the American Gothic house.
I share my recipe with everybody because I think everyone should learn how to make pie, not be afraid of how to make dough. It's just, I have preached this thing where pie is not about perfection. It's about facing your fears and just making something that you've made with your own hands and sharing it with others.
Beth sells pies out of the American Gothic house on weekends or whenever there's a good crowd visiting. Just look for the pie sign in her front yard. She also teaches baking classes at the house. Like I said before, you can't actually tour the whole house though. But this whole Points of Interest is a fun and tasty trip.